Good morning, I'm Maddie Jansen, and this is the podcast of 17 News at Sunrise. It's everything you need to know to start your day in about 15 minutes.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Kern County and nearby cities hit by a 5.5 magnitude earthquake, and the shaking was caught on camera in a city still raw from last year's July quakes. What experts say about the tremor last night?
President Trump doubles down on his promise to bring out the military to back up 30,000 National Guard troops in response to continuing protests.
In a late-night protest here in Bakersfield leaves a demonstrator in the hospital after being hit by a car. More from a man who saw it happen on this Thursday, June 4th, 2020. Good morning. Good to have you with us this morning. I'm Maddie Jansen coming to you from my home. Alex Fisher in downtown Bakersfield, Kevin Charette in southwest Bakersfield. Again, a lot to get to this morning, but first we want to talk about your weather. This week is just incrementally heating up every day, it seems like. Yeah,
and I will say, Kev, yes, it is very hot outside, but it is definitely different from what we saw last week. At least we're not seeing those incredibly hot temperatures, although it is still very warm and we should take the heat seriously.
Yeah, well, today we are going to see those temperatures we saw last week. Yesterday, we didn't hit 100. In fact, 99 was actually the high for our area. So we were a little cooler than what we expected, but I don't think anybody's complaining. So yeah, 99 was the high for our Wednesday. And remember, normally this time of year, we should be right around 88 degrees. And a record temperature of 109 yesterday was set back in 1960. Right now, you can see we've got clear skies around Kern County. No changes on that front. We're at 76 degrees right now with an east-southeast wind at 6 miles per hour. And here's a look at the dog walk forecast. It's just going to be hot this afternoon, but starting out pretty comfortably, 82 degrees by 8 a.m. And then as we progress into the afternoon by 5 o'clock, we're going to be pushing temperatures near 105. 59 in Tehachapi right now, a north wind at 3 miles per hour. And as you take a look at the temperatures for today, you're going to be rising right near 90. So definitely a warm day, but the good news, Alex, is we are going to see a cool down as we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's always the nice news to hear. I think so much, Kev.
I really think it's something we should think about.
Oh, my goodness.
And,
oh, my God.
We're having an earthquake. I'm shaking here. Oh, my God.
Yeah, you're watching the moment. Ridgecrest was rattled by a magnitude 5.5 earthquake. Last night's tremor caught the Ridgecrest City Council by surprise. The council was in the middle of taking public comment when the earthquake started shaking the council's chambers. And then once the shaking stopped, the council took a short break. The earthquake was centered about 13 miles east of Ridgecrest and struck at 6:32 p.m., according to the U.S. Geological Survey. That quake happened less than 24 hours after a 3.9 quake struck closer to Barstow the night before. This latest earthquake was felt as far away as Las Vegas and Sacramento. Shaking was also reported in Lamont, Bakersfield, and Los Angeles.
I was just informed, too, that we just had a large earthquake, as if things couldn't get worse.
And that was Mayor Eric Garcetti's reaction during a news conference yesterday. There are no reports of any major damage. Ridgecrest Police Chief Jed McLaughlin says the city's wastewater facility took some damage, but repairs will be completed by today. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, that quake was one of the many aftershocks of last year's earthquakes in Ridgecrest. The 6.44 shock that struck on July 4th and the 7.1 main shock that hit on July 5th. Scientists say there have been thousands of aftershocks since then as we approach the one-year anniversary next month. It's a good reminder, though, that we should always all be prepared in case a larger earthquake strikes. First, assemble an emergency preparedness kit. You should include a first aid kit, a battery-powered radio, a flashlight with extra batteries, blankets, water, non-perishable food, prescription medicine, identification documents, and cash. Make sure to pack enough items for at least 72 hours. A week is ideal. Create a household evacuation plan that includes your pets. Practice to drop, cover, and hold on with all members of your household. Know where to go when a quake hits. Look for something sturdy, like getting underneath a table. Stay away from glass, electrical lines, and potential falling objects. For more information on getting prepared, go to kget.com.
And just a reminder, you can download the Shake Alert app to get earthquake warnings on your phone. Hundreds of earthquake sensors across California track the tremors and warn you just before shaking arrives. Now, it's important to note that it will only alert you if there is a significant earthquake. That magnitude has to be at least above a 4.5. It's available for iOS and Android phones. And you can also sign up for disaster alerts from Kern County's emergency services. Just go to readykern.com. It is 5:05 now, and as protests grow across the country, President Trump is facing some high-level pushback on his promise to bring in the military to stop them. Tracy Potts has that, plus today's memorial and the new charges in the death of George Floyd.
At the U.S. Capitol, some officers are taking a knee with protesters as peaceful demonstrations continue here and across the nation. President Trump is doubling down on his promise to bring out the military to back up 30,000 National Guard troops.
Once they came in, it was like a knife cutting butter. It was so easy.
Both the current and former defense secretaries oppose military action.
The option to use active duty forces in a law enforcement role should only be used as a matter of last resort.
In a statement, General James Mattis calls it an abuse of executive authority. Curfews are easing tensions in many cities, but there are pockets of unrest in Portland, Atlanta, and Charlotte, where police are accused of firing tear gas into a peaceful crowd. Former President Obama praising peaceful demonstrations.
To bring about real change, we both have to highlight a problem and make people in power uncomfortable.
In Minneapolis, preparations are underway today for the first of 4 memorials for George Floyd, who died with an officer's knee on his neck. Officer Derek Chauvin's charge has now been upgraded to second-degree murder, and the 3 officers with him have been charged with aiding and abetting.
His life had value, and we will seek justice for him.
I am happy that all the officers have been arrested. My father have not been killed like this. We deserve justice.
The officers face up to 40 years in prison. Back at the nation's capital, there's extra security around the White House now, keeping crowds blocks away from the president, who now says he was not rushed to a bunker on Friday because of those demonstrations. President Trump saying he was down there for a short time doing an inspection. Tracy Potts, NBC News.
Your time now is 5:07, bringing you back here at home. Once again, protesters took to the streets of Bakersfield yesterday, but one man is in the hospital after a car hit him late last night. BPD says it happened as protesters were walking along California Avenue near Oak Street. At around 10:25 p.m., people were in both lanes of traffic when a man headed east hit one of the protesters. We were live last night when 17's Aton Wallace spoke to a man who saw the crash.
Protesters began to circle him and protect him from everyone else, and then a bunch of other protesters ran after the guy that hit him, further back down that way. And
BPD says the driver was later found and taken in for questioning, but police have not said if the man has been arrested. The protester is in critical condition. Various groups have been protesting in different ways this week. Pastor Oscar J. Anthony organized an interfaith march to BPD headquarters. He says his goal was to bring together people of all faiths and backgrounds to pray for unity. Roughly 200 people joined him. At the same time, another group of protesters, calling themselves The Next Step, marched around downtown and eventually gathered with faith leaders in front of BPD.
We thank you for peace tonight. God, that bodies can come together and say, you know what? We might not all see things exactly the same, but today we are going to unite and say this, that we are in agreement that there needs to be justice in this world.
We stand with the church as long as the church stands with us in the movement that Black Lives do matter, although we understand that all lives matter. But in this moment, they don't believe that Black lives matter. So that is our fight, and that is what we're standing for. And if they stand with us, we stand with them.
Good morning.
Meanwhile, at Mill Creek Park, people came together for music and unity to support the Black Lives Matter movement. 17's Karen Wall was there and has this.
9 minutes for the moment of silence.
It's a form of protest that dates back to the civil rights movement in the 1960s, the sit-in.
It's not what we're against, it's what we are for. They want to say we're against police, but we aren't. We are against brutality.
Now we hear those who say all lives matter. That's obvious. But now is the time for us all to say it clearly, that Black Lives Matter. Will you join me? Black Lives Matter.
Over the past 5 days, we've seen many different forms of protest. People have chanted and marched around the city.
I can't breathe!
But here, they made their voices heard through music and moments of silence.
Stand up. You don't know.
Not to say the protests aren't peaceful by any means. I think this is just coming at it from a different angle.
The organizers hope to welcome people of all races for a peaceful, productive discussion.
Of course, all lives matter, and that is a part of Black Lives Matter. It is a part of it. You know, we're not excluding anybody by saying that. Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, is a part of that. It's one and the same to me.
It's going to take a lot of uncomfortable conversations, and it's going to take them going out and taking this piece and this momentum to their families and to their friends, and to push that with them.
That was Karen Wall reporting. Still to come this morning here on Sunrise, an investigation is underway after a deadly shooting in East Bakersfield.
What we know so far is Kern County marks 50 homicides so far this year. Welcome back here at 520. Police are looking for the drivers who hit a man during an illegal street race last night. The department says 2 drivers were speeding down East Brundage Lane. BPD says a man was crossing the street outside a crosswalk and one of the drivers hit him. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition. BPD is looking for a light-colored BMW with a license plate ending with the numbers 657. If you have any information that can help police, call 327-7111.
Kern County saw its 50th homicide of the year after a deadly shooting in East Bakersfield. BPD says the ShotSpotter system led them to a liquor store on Kentucky Street, a few blocks away from Beale Avenue. Police say the victim was taken to a hospital but died from his wounds. Right now, there's no description of a suspect. And according to our homicide tracker, this is the 28th homicide for Bakersfield and the 50th for Kern County. If you have any information, you're asked to call police. That number is 327-7111.
521 is your time now. Days of protests continue across the U.S. and here locally. People are frustrated and want to change. 17's Nicole Gitsky has more on what our local law enforcement is doing to help bridge the gap that leaves so many feeling so damaged.
Protests across the world demanding an end to racial inequality. But something is happening. Police and protesters are talking together, taking a stand as one.
The majority of the people were out here to let their voice be heard about a very important issue, something that's causing them a lot of pain and concern. We welcome that. We welcome and protect the right of free speech, and we want people to be safe and be heard.
Throughout this time and even before, Bakersfield Police Department has been working on bettering themselves to better our community.
It's always been part of the conversation. It's always been part of that expectation that you show you take accountability for yourself. You take accountability for the other officers around you. You make sure that this is not something that we allow to exist. It's not something we allow to be part of our culture here.
And while they are standing against each other face to face, we are reminded that so many are feeling that same frustration.
Let's not get distracted by the bad actions of a few. Let's look at the people who really care and who are out here about a good cause and make themselves heard, and let's make a difference.
It's not something that will change overnight, but serves as a reminder of where we need to be heading.
This is something that has been evolving through law enforcement for decades and will continue to as it needs to. As training techniques, everything needs to come on there, building those other relationships. All of these are something that has to take place for us to enact real change. And we're doing it hopefully within our department, as well as we're only one component of this. It has to be a change throughout the community. It has to be a change throughout our society in general. We're only one cog of this, and we can't change everyone's way of thinking and way of doing things, but we can definitely hold ourselves accountable for what we're doing and work towards doing things better in the future.
In Southwest Bakersfield, Nicole Gitsky, 17 News.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back here at 527. Coronavirus could claim another victim. The world's biggest theater chain, AMC Theaters, says it has substantial doubt that it can stay in business. The theater chain says it currently has enough money to reopen this summer or later, but they're not sure beyond that. AMC Theaters has been closed around the world, including the AMC here in Bakersfield. The company says it's basically making no money. AMC says even if stay-at-home orders aren't lifted, studios have delayed many new films, so there won't be a rush to return to the movies.
With unemployment at its worst levels in decades, competition as fierce as ever for people hoping to find a new job. And now some job seekers are turning to paid online services to maximize their odds of getting an interview and acing it, or just to get emotional support from people who have been there before. NBC's Chris Pallone has a look.
Competition is fierce for many Americans looking for jobs, and sometimes the smallest detail can be the key to rejoining the workforce.
One of my interns said, "Hey, what are you going to do about resumes?" And I was like, "There's a resume issue?"
Jennifer Sethry of Entry Careers discovered 75% of resumes submitted for a job will never be seen by someone who works there.
There are 127 metrics for reasons why your resume doesn't get through applicant tracking system software.
Things like length, font size, and a lack of certain keywords can cause good candidates to be rejected. That's why some job seekers are turning to paid services like Entry, learning to craft carefully targeted resumes.
I think with creating a brand statement for yourself so you know exactly who you are.
V-Candidates founder L.T. Bryson says job seekers must be memorable. Her company creates profiles for clients, reviews resumes, and even coaches them through mock interviews.
Remember, a few months ago, we had more jobs than we had talent. Well, now with all of the layoffs and furloughs, we're going to have less jobs and more talented people in the marketplace.
And when job seekers feel like no one understands what they're going through, Wisdo.com introduces them to people who have been in their shoes.
People who are, in social networks, they have their own personal networks, and still they can't find people to talk about what matters most in their lives.
You have to be your own advocate.
Bottom line, these employment experts say putting the best possible shine on job skills and qualifications is more important than ever before. Chris Pallone, NBC News.